Welcome to the Dadcast, a podcast produced with love exclusively for Joselyn, Brandon, Gianmarco, and Valeria. This is your host, Christopher Pereira, but you can call me Dad. Today, we're going to talk about when I met Jocelyn and Brandon. This is an interesting story. It's interesting to me. I remember it, and it always brings a smile to my face. Shortly after I had met your mother, she invited me to a party, to a birthday party. It was Alex's birthday party, your uncle, Alex. And maybe he was turning 5 years old. I don't remember. Um, of course, Alex has Down syndrome, and I didn't know a lot of people. I still don't know too many people with Down syndrome in my life. So I didn't know what to buy him. I remember that I went to back then there were these stores called Toys R Us. I think Jocelyn and Brandon, you remember Toys R Us. We used to go there in my early days with you when I had more money than I have now. We would go and buy a lot of toys. I don't know if you remember this, Jocelyn. Remember, we would go in with a lot. Well, I had a lot of money to spend, and I said, "Hey, let's go. What do you want?" We once, I remember, we once walked out of there with a lot of toys. But anyway, so I went and I didn't know what to buy him. I bought him these sort of blocks to build things that were big for his hands. So I don't think he actually liked them or ever used them. But anyway, I went to this party and I didn't know what to expect, but I had been seeing your mom for some time, but I knew I would finally meet you two, Jocelyn and Brandon. I knew of you, I just hadn't met you. And it was interesting because obviously I was getting serious with your mom, and but meeting and having a commitment with a woman with children is never easy. And a lot of people warn you about it with good intentions. They warned you about it, and so I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So I thought to myself, I'm gonna meet these kids. Let's see what they're like, and let's see if they like me. And let's see if I like them, and we'll go from there. So I went in, and I remember that Brandon was always very shy and quiet, and he was a very difficult to break into, to get him to like me. And so he always looked at me with suspicious. Who's this guy? Why is he coming? He was so little. He was like 3 years old, and his look told me everything. Who are you? What do you want with my mommy? Why are you here? Very suspicious of me. But he still was courteous and greeted me, but just didn't really want to have anything with me. Jocelyn, in the other hand, oh, she was always so, um, so always, Jocelyn always had this beautiful smile. Whenever you would see Jocelyn, she would always greet you with a smile. She was always smiling. She was always, it's like she couldn't help to smile, and with her beautiful smile. She won me right away, Jocelyn. She was so nice and attentive, and oh, do you want something to drink? She was just like that. I always thought that Jocelyn, growing up, I thought that she was always the best host. When we had guests at the house, she would always she would always try to make him feel so good, and make sure they were taken care of, and always just really really attentive to people who were visiting guests, and that's how she made me feel when I met her. And Brandon, he seemed harmless. He seemed like a good boy that was maybe just a little afraid of me initially. So that's it. I met you guys that one time. I remember. I think I connected pretty well with Jocelyn, and it took some time for me to connect with Brandon. But eventually, when I connected with Brandon, Brandon used to be the one. Eventually, Jocelyn got bored of me, I think. But every time I would come into the house, I remember when Brandon was little, he would run out to greet me, "Daddy," and give me a hug. Um, so that's something I really, that's a memory I treasure a lot with Brandon. And he will come in and both of them, but I remember Brandon for the longest because he was smallest. And Jocelyn too, because she didn't weigh anything. They will always want to be on my shoulders and I will carry them. And Brandon will ask me to do a marometa. You guys know what a marometa is, right? Let's do one more. Nomás una, pero nomás una más y ya. Pero nomás una más y ya. And he will always ask me for another marometa. So, anyway, all that to say that when I met Jocelyn and Brandon, I fell in love with them, and 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 that was it. That was a beautiful experience, and I was very happy to make them my children. And that wraps up this episode of the Dadcast. Tune in next time to hear from the wisdom of a man that loves you more than any other man other than God. Love you guys.